Pacers fall at the buzzer against the Bucks. Giannis steals their hearts in a crazy game. Pacers fight, come back again, but come up just short. 2 more injuries, emotional game. Holy smokes, so much to get to on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, Pacers Bucks, a heartbreaker for the Pacers, battling back again, showing so much fight again, shorthanded, just to have Giannis rip their hearts out with a buzzer beater over 2 defenders as the Pacers fall to 1-6. So much to get to from this one. The Pacers fight, more injuries. Myles Turner returns, Isaiah Jackson's incredible game. And it just is so hard for me to weave all this together without starting with what I consider just like a weird spot that the Pacers are in, that I think Siakam post-game finally was talking about in a way that I felt like was perfectly fitting of how I've kind of internalized where the Pacers are situationally at this point in the season, because this was their 5th clutch game this season. The 1-6 Pacers have 5 clutch games. The other 2 that were not, obviously, they got their butts kicked by Memphis and Atlanta. Those were bad games. Put those to the side. The other 5 games they played, they won 1 of the 5. They beat Golden State. They lost by missing by inches on an Aaron Nesmith 3 against Dallas. Giannis hitting this game winner that just happens in this game. They lose in double overtime to Oklahoma City. They lose by 4 in Minnesota, and they beat Golden State, obviously. They have just been so close so many times and haven't been able to do it. They are second in the league in clutch games played with 5, and they are 1-4 in those games, and their clutch net rating is 14th in the league right now. They're this close, but there is no such thing as close. You win or you don't, and I'm not a moral victories guy, but this game against the Bucks was as close as it gets, and that's why weaving this game together is very hard, because every fan is correct to say that they are so proud of the Pacers, right? They already are so limited, entering the game down 6 guys, 6 of their top 8 from last year. Really 6 of their top 9 in minutes, but everybody considers McConnell above Shepherd. 6 of their top 8 players from last year are hurt or were playing for the opponent tonight, right? They just had Nesmith and Siakam available. And then during the game, they lose 2 more. Johnny Furphy goes down. Quentin Jackson goes down. They're closing the game with Jeremiah Robinson Earl on the floor. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, this is not meant as slander to you. Fine player, scored his first Pacers points. He's been on the team for 2 days. He's on a 10-day hardship contract. That is the injury situation they are in this season, and they've been in that many clutch games, and they just can't win. So on one hand, if you're on the roster, and Pascal Siakam did a good job explaining all this. So the first thing I'm saying is my own opinion. If you're on the team, it's less deflating because you know you're in it, and the team is good enough to win. And on the other hand, it's extremely deflating because you're so close, and you just haven't been able to do it with any consistency. And so this one is very painful for the Pacers, who played well enough to win. The Bucks made a billion threes in a row in the second half. It was only 8, but it was a lot. And they lost 2 players, and they still were tied in the final minute and had a chance before Giannis ripped their hearts out. It's just a huge bummer. It's just a bummer, man. It's really hard to explain this in a way that makes any sense, because I'm all about analysis. Here's the stats of why they lost. Here's the decisions they made that made them lose. They came up short. I should be leading with something sad. But I wrote in the sign on the bullet points, if you're watching on YouTube, I typed another painful yet prideful defeat, because every time this happens, Rick Carlisle takes the podium and he's so proud of his team's fight. And every fan is like, yep, they fought like crazy. I'm happy with how the team played. They just lost by 2 against a healthier, better team. And that's fine. That's how everybody should feel. The Pacers are playing well with the resources they have available. Their best players are leading this ragtag group. But at some point, they need to win some of these games, and they just haven't been able to. And I think meshing those emotions is really challenging if you're on the team, right? Because you know you're doing well with the resources available, but it has just been a 1% short of enough. Like, again, I said this. I said this before they played, or after they played Dallas, or before they played Dallas. But like, they're like 4 possessions this season away from being like 4-3 right now. Like 4 or 5 possessions. It's nothing. But they're 1-5 or 1-6, and it doesn't matter how close they are to a better record. They have the record they have, and they have to be just a smidge better. And it gets harder and harder every time someone goes down again. We'll talk about injuries in just a second before we get to this. But I just like, it's almost so Siakam said this, and I need to make sure I articulate it correctly. Many of you can just watch the postgame presser and see it. I asked him his first 2 questions, and his answers were very revealing. But they're at the point with injuries where, again, funny is not the right word, but it's just like you almost have to laugh and be like, another one. This is like the volume of injuries is comedic. It's comedic, right? 8 guys have missed time, way more than that now, right? And they just keep happening every single game. Here's another one there. There's another one here. Okay, they're out of point guards. Their only healthy point guard was questionable going into the game. It's like, it's just ridiculous. It's so hard to overcome. Johnny Furphy leaves this one on crutches after an ankle injury mid-game. Quentin Jackson, a hamstring injury, leaving mid-game. And he was holding his head. Double whammy for him as he was chasing Giannis up the floor in transition. I'll say this. If Jackson's injury, that is the bad one, is a hamstring. I said the same thing the first time he got hurt, and a lot of guys have gotten hurt with this year. Muscle things don't just go away. He's not going to be ready Wednesday. If it's his head that's keeping him out, I don't know how long concussions take. Also probably not going to be ready for Wednesday. If Johnny Furphy's leaving the game on crutches, he's probably not going to be ready for Wednesday. Longer injury report coming for Pacers Nets. They're lucky they play the Nets, but they're so banged up. And so you walk away from a game like this as the Pacers. Aaron Nesmith, 17 points, 7 boards, great plays late, ties it up with a crucial layup at the end, right? Fighting with all he can. One of their only healthy top guys from last year. Pascal Siakam, who somehow said after this game he's been disappointed with many of his performances this year, with 32 and 8 clutch shots. He was great. Isaiah Jackson, we'll talk a lot of detail about him later. 21 and 10 balling. Jarris Walker, 18, 8 and 5. He's got some things he's got to do better, but that's a very productive game from him. Tony Bradley, old reliable once again. Ben Shepherd made a 3. And then off the bench, they're relying on 6.5 minutes of Jeremiah Robinson Earl, 10 minutes of Taylor Peter, Mac McClung they have to dust off. Ben Shepherd was 20 minutes. Jay Huff played good defense in this game. Johnny Furphy made a 3 in this game. They got stuff from everybody. That's how they have to win. They have to be a collection of depth pieces that can cobble together enough to win. And they did. And they just came up short because Giannis is amazing. And Giannis hit an incredible fading shot at the buzzer to beat the Pacers. And it was 117-115, and the Bucks were better. They deserved the win. The Bucks had the more talented roster. They deserved the win, right? It's just so hard to perfectly weave together all of that as the Pacers, that you're this team that is so hurt. It's been so hard to put together lineups that make sense that you're already making, one, a just regular move, cutting a center and James Wiseman for a guard, and then also making a hardship move. And then 2 games after that, you're already having to play 5 forwards in your closing lineup, right? They had a real lineup in the fourth quarter that was Taylor Peter, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Jarris Walker, Pascal Siakam, and Isaiah Jackson. And then they subbed out Taylor Peter for Aaron Nesmith. And it worked. That group was good. Jay Huff played 4 again. This is the situation they're in with their injuries. And so everybody knows why they're losing, right? Injuries are not why they lost to Atlanta. Injuries are not why they lost to Memphis. Injuries played a huge factor in every game they played. Shooting has been a problem. Shooting was okay today. 43% acceptable, right? We've all seen the problems that this team is having. And yet they're so close that it feels like they should win some. And so I will give them a lot of credit for keeping their head up and being like, we're so close. We know we can win. We just got to be a smidge better and keep fighting through this. And Jarris Walker's playing a bunch of minutes and getting better. And Pascal's been awesome. And Nesmith's finally making them again. And Jackson looks great. That's awesome. But at some point, it's just so painful as a player on this Pacers team, as they've laid out, to be so close and lose again, and show all the fight and lose again, and lose 2 more players to injury. And I just ranted for 10 minutes and said hardly a thing about what actually happened in the basketball game. We got to talk about actually what happened in Pacers Bucks. But man, oh man, is this a tough first 7 games to stomach as the Pacers? Okay, let's talk about the game, where the Pacers struggled early, how they overcame it, what the Bucks did to actually win, and then we'll get to the emotional parts of this, Isaiah Jackson's baller night, and so much more. It's all coming on the Locked On Pacers podcast. Before we get into any of that, we got to talk about Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That is where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Game Time can help you grab tickets for Pacers games, including Pacers Nets coming up, for example. You can do it in minutes. The price you see is the price you pay. There's no hidden fees at checkout. You see the exact seat view you're going to get in Gainbridge Fieldhouse or whatever arena you're going to. They have zone deals that are a game changer, and you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but that code is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. And we are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Locked On Bucks for your second listen for the winner's perspective on this game and Giannis' superhuman shot to close it out for the Bucks. That is a tip your cap level shot. The Pacers defended it perfectly. I'll do this part now. People suggested the Pacers could have fouled them on purpose, which is weird in a tied game. I need to really dive into all the permutations of that. Kind of some reason to it. Like if he misses a free throw, if you foul him early enough and you get a possession, but like you don't want to play from behind, you'd rather just get a stop and play overtime. I think they played it correctly odds wise and they just lost, but I do understand why people think that could have been a strategy. I think you just tip your cap. It's a crazy shot. Okay. What was going on in this game? A lot, but to me, what stood out early is the Bucks kind of were even pre Quentin Jackson injury and pre Johnny Furphy injury. The Bucks were up 11 in the first quarter. They were leading for much of the first half. It was a close game at halftime. And then they went up 10 again in the third. They went up double digits in the fourth. The Pacers did come back. They were also down double digits in 3 of the 4 quarters of this game. And one thing that I thought was telling is how challenging it was for the Pacers to get into the paint, which is funny because the game ends at 58-38 advantage for Pacers in points in the paint. So you might be saying, Tony, what are you talking about? It took the Pacers a while to actually get there, right? Their offense was really struggling early in this game and getting there, and the Bucks end up making 23s, which overcomes a lot of their points in the paint struggles. But I thought their early lead for the Bucks was built on exactly that. Their paint defense was really tight and connected. Turner had a bunch of blocks really early in this game. And outside of Isaiah Jackson, who was tremendous, having some nice dives and cuts to the rim, nobody was really able to get into the teeth and make anything happen. And that affects 2 things. That one affects the obvious one of scoring at the basket, right? And so, yes, the Pacers obviously did get to points in the paint, but they finished the game at 43% shooting again. They did have a tough time in the lane a lot early in this game. And once they figured it out in the second half, they were much better. They found ways to get there. Their driving angles were better. They figured out where to seal or where the defenders are coming from. That's great. But they started really slow in that way, and they had to make up for it with other things, including getting to the foul line a bunch. They took 38 free throws in this game, things of that nature. But that, to me, was the biggest thing they were struggling with early in this game. And that especially compounded for the brief moment between when they lost Jackson and Dennis and before they really perfectly figured out what to do. That's when they were down 10 in the third and then 11 again in the fourth. Obviously, in that second half, when they were really figuring out what they needed as an offensive group to get there and what players could actually make it possible, given what they had available. A ton of credit to Pascal Siakam for finding unique ways to break down the Bucks defense without just having to get into the teeth all the time. He had 8 assists, largely playing a perimeter game. In this one, he was just awesome. I mean, it just sucks that he's had the season he's had and the Pacers are 1-6 because he's been balling every night, doing crazy things. He's a third of the Pacers' assists in this game, and it will be forgotten in some ways because of there's so many other things that happened in this game. But I thought that was what the Pacers' big struggle was early in this game, was their lack of ability to get in there. That's normally Quentin Jackson's thing. He can get in deep, but he wasn't really probing as much as he was even 2 days before when they played Golden State. He takes 4 shots in 20 minutes of the game, and that's like a fine ratio for somebody like him. And he took 7 free throws, like he was trying to get in there, but it wasn't the same level of pop towards the rim that he had, especially at his best moments against the Warriors. They didn't have enough of that from really anybody. They were running into a lot of walls. And when you kick out of that, so what is the natural way to beat this defense I'm describing? One that's really packing you in, making it tough to get where you want to go, right? We know the Pacers from all these years. They tell us paint's a great's their way to play. You can get in the teeth of the defense, make it move, find something there. Even if you're not a point guard, if you're anybody, you can make something happen. I talked to Quentin Jackson before the game about the same kind of stuff I mentioned with Ben Shepherd and Taylor Peter earlier this week or early last week. Time is an enigma, about how the system can be the point guard for the Pacers sometimes, right? Yes, they would prefer to have people who are good passers and can throw people open, but if you start getting action to action, once the ball gets moving, it doesn't matter who took it across the timeline, the way the Pacers play, right? So that kind of team, one that it doesn't matter who it is, just someone get in there, make it happen, keep it moving. If they can't get there, what's the counter? It's the shooters have to be open if the paint is that packed. And shooters were open. The Pacers took 33 threes, and a lot of them were their best shooters. 9 from Aaron Nesmith, 6 from Pascal Siakam, 6 from Jarris Walker, who, despite having a clunky shot, does make it sometimes. That alone is 21 of their 33 threes, and those three players combined to make 5. They did not get enough jumper production from those guys. Now, they're relying on those guys for a lot of off-the-dribble juice right now. So they're taking more challenging threes than they would in a situation where they have better guards to set them up, but they needed more from them. Jackson missed his only one. Ray J. Dennis was 0 for 2. In fact, off the bench, Furphy made a 3, Ben Shepherd made a 3, and Taylor Peter made a 3, and that's it. So the way that they could have countered that early was really good shooting. Now, I think Isaiah Jackson showed what the answer was, which was well-timed cutting, well-timed diving after screens, things of that nature. Jackson just kept getting the ball around the basket and flushing. He was just spectacular. I mean, his best game of the season by far. We'll talk about him in the third segment, but he had 21 and 10 in this game, largely because he was very good at poking holes in the Bucks defense through the middle. And once the Pacers figured that out, they did find space and they did get their offense going. And if you just look naturally kind of at the game flow of the scoring, the Pacers had 21 in the first quarter, then 31 in the second, and then 24 in the third, but 38 in the fourth, right? They kept finding more and more answers throughout the game, but their defense was always kind of clunky along the way. And the Bucks really, really, really got warm in the second half of this game. Both teams were ugly from 3, and then the Bucks were just red hot down the stretch. 8 in a row from their team. 50% go in from AJ Green on 4 for 8. Gary Trent hits 3. Taurean Prince hits half of his. Ryan Rollins hits half of his. Cole Anthony 3 for 4. Bobby Portis hits 2 of 5. And all of a sudden, the Bucks make 20 and the Pacers make 8. So yes, the Pacers made 16 more free throws. That makes up for a lot of stuff in a game like this. But that is an insurmountably huge gap of threes. That's 36 points you have to make up in some other way. And it's hard to make that up when the paint's not really available to your team. And you also have 11 turnovers. The Bucks had a turnover problem early, but that ended up not being that much of an advantage. The Pacers did everything they could possession battle-wise. They won on the glass. They won the turnovers. They got to the line. They were doing everything they could to get in the paint. But that was an insurmountable 3 gap to make up for, especially given how challenging it was for them to get in the paint early. So if the Bucks hadn't gotten warm from 3 in the second half, yeah, the Pacers would have won. But they did, and it's not like they made some hellacious 3 or something that felt like it really tipped the momentum of the game. In fact, the play that tipped the momentum of the game, to me, was Tony Bradley and Taurean Prince getting in a little tiff late in the third quarter. But the Bucks shooting was what got them over the hump after the Pacers figured out their defense. So credit to the Pacers for evolving and figuring things out as the game went on, but then the Bucks were ready with their own counterpunch that actually put this one away. So really interesting game flow, and it showed again the Pacers can find solutions. They're a very good adjustment team, as they were last year. Even without Haliburton, they found ways with this group to score, and then the Bucks just get warm from 3 and you lose. I mean, it's got to be so infuriating if you're a Pacers player or just anyone with the Pacers to see your team so many times prove they can hang with teams that have better on-paper talent than them, get so close, and then lose again. And that's what happened. And it's hard to describe. And again, I said this earlier, so I'll say it again now. I am not a moral victories person. I don't think many people are in sports. I think most people are pretty much binary about the results. But like, this is what it is. This would have been it. If you are a moral victories person, that was it. Like the game the Pacers and Bucks just played was it. The Pacers down 6 of their top 8, then lose the guy who was probably going to lead them off the bench in minutes in Johnny Furphy. He played 12 minutes and 50 seconds before leaving. And you lose a starter in Quentin Jackson of your available group. Your available guards after Jackson leaves the game, if you're the Pacers, are Ray J. Dennis, who's hurt and only played 8 minutes, Ben Shepherd, Mac McClung, who played 2 minutes. That's it. And Taylor Peter. I forgot Taylor Peter. I apologize to Taylor Peter. Like, it's amazing that group can cobble together solutions to problems they had in the half and tie a game up like this just short. Amazing from Giannis. Myles Turner was back. The reception was a little different than I thought, albeit as mixed as I expected. And Isaiah Jackson was just spectacular. What does that mean? Can they keep getting to that? We have so much to get to close out today's Locked On Pacers. Before we talk about that, though, I got to talk to you guys about FanDuel. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action yourself than with FanDuel. They're the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks and so much more. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps the game more exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Pacers have been doing that a lot lately. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel. They're the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And we're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day. Or second listen, another game winner in the NBA last night, Jusuf Nurkic. Yeah, for real. Against the Celtics, the Jazz get a win on the road. Crazy for Utah. Wild result to see. Locked On Jazz. We'll have more on Jusuf Nurkic, game winner in Boston against the Celtics. Okay. Myles Turner returned. They played the tribute video. I said yesterday, talking to Justin, that I expected it would be more so cheers than boos during tribute video than boos the rest of the game. And it was heavier boos than cheers the entire tribute video and then exclusively boos the rest of the game. And that is how the fan base deserves to feel. I wrote about his comments in Circle City Spin. I hope you guys read it because he talked about clarifying what he meant. And I've talked about how sometimes I think things he meant as exclusively praise of the Bucks have been viewed as shots at the Pacers. That said, not everything he said has been exclusively praise of the Bucks. He has certainly, and he's even mentioned some of it has been about the Pacers. Some of it has been about their front office. And it's hard to walk that back. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's out of the tube, right? And fans feel a certain way about that. Prideful fans should feel a certain way about that. So I understand it. He made a motion of him closing a book with his hands after the tribute video, like a chapter was done or something, admitted after the game that, it stunk to hear the boos. He did not play very well in the game. He had 7 quick points, and then his 9th points came at the end when a rebound just bounced right to him on a hideous Cole Anthony miss. Fell right to Turner's hands, and he scored, and that was actually a very crucial basket. His defense was good. He had 5 blocks. Like, he certainly influenced the game in a major way, but 9.7 boards for Turner on 3 for 7 from the field. Booed for much of the game. Giannis said it bothered him, the booing too, and he was very happy and celebratory after his mid-game winner because of those many things. A little tussle, of course, between the one I mentioned earlier, Prince and Tony Bradley. There was another dust-up that was a double foul between Siakam and Giannis. Just another Pacers-Bucks game. They're all crazy. Something happens. I thought overtime was certainly coming after the last Pacers-Bucks game before this was that overtime craziness in Game 5 of the first round last year. But now officially, you can watch Turner's pregame comments, by the way. I think they were – I didn't get to talk to him postgame. I was in the Pacers locker room, but those are up everywhere too. I think they're all telling in some way or clarifying or even not clarifying to some fans who are just like, dude, shut up. But hey, for those of you who are over it, who keep commenting every time, why are you still talking about this guy? It's not going to happen anymore. It's done. The return game's over. It will be a much, much, much smaller story going forward. But it was certainly a part of this game and the emotions of it for both teams. Giannis even saying post-game, it added to the rivalry a little bit to have that be a part of it. But Myles Turner was not the best center in this game. Wasn't close. It was funny because Isaiah Jackson was playing a little better than him statistically in the first half, and they showed a graphic in the arena on the Jumbotron of like just the stats of points, rebounds for the two players, and fans went crazy. And I kind of joked at the time, like, they left off blocks, because like that was the thing that made Myles start the game so strongly. Then they did it again in the second half, and fans went nuts and cheered again. That time, the joke didn't make any sense because Isaiah Jackson was playing way better, even if you add in the blocks for Myles Turner. Special game for Isaiah Jackson. 21 points on 8 made shots. Fantastic efficiency from him. I mentioned it earlier, but he was just always kind of ducking around, cutting, screen rolling with good screens to get himself into spaces to score. And his teammates did a good job of recognizing that he was doing that and saying, look, there's going to be Isaiah Jackson. And it wasn't 8 made twos of like, oh, he's super athletic, throw it up, like use his strengths. It was Isaiah Jackson being like more traditional centery in that he would set a screen and roll into space and make a play in the space and score. And he drew a bunch of fouls and took 6 free throws, 10 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive end, 2 steals, a block. Importantly for him, 3 fouls in 29 minutes. He did everything that the Pacers would ask of him to do. This is why he is the starter. Because, yes, Tony Bradley has been the Pacers' most consistent center of the season. J. Huff had some good defensive moments again in this game, and has certain skills that make him a good fitting center for this team. But Isaiah Jackson certainly has the highest ceiling of these players, and the Pacers paid him like somebody they believe has the highest ceiling of these players. And all summer, I kept talking about the center situation, who should start. And people would talk about J. Huff, and their arguments, I can't lie, were compelling. But in my gut, I was just like, it's going to be Isaiah because they think he's the best, and I think he's the best. Even if the fit stuff is there, I think he's the best player. And this game showed why that can be a thing for him. And I thought he was very strong with his words post-game and being like, look, and I've talked about this, he has to be graded on the rubric of being a starting center. He's a starting center for a team trying to win. However, he is recovering from an injury, and usually that'd be a situation you give a player grace. The other thing that he talked about in that recovery is his wind and conditioning and how he's getting that back, and how even from game 1 to, I keep thinking they've played fewer games they have, to game 7, just playing games has helped him get his wind and get back into shape. And you can see how that helps him. Like a lot of times when you see a player missing a bunch of shots short or rushing their jumper or biting on pump fakes or setting lazy screens, they're like cutting corners because they're tired, right? And people talk about it on the broadcast or they say it, you can see it. And lo and behold, that's been a lot of Isaiah Jackson's struggles this season. He did none of that in this game. He was always attacking. He was moving well defensively. He didn't bite on any stupid pump fakes. Like, he knows those plays are stupid. It's easy for me to say it, right? He only had 1 turnover. Like, he has said it post-game. He's like, 29 minutes might have been hard for me earlier this season or in past seasons. And then tonight it wasn't. He had the energy the whole time. It was there on defense. It was there on offense. He was laser focused, going against a guy he's battled against in practice for years. He was awesome. The lefty dunk off a drive that he created, albeit the advantage was already a little bit there, but he flushed it, was just spectacular. He did so many things well in this game. Like, even if he has a couple stinkers in a row, like, there's just no doubt to me he's going to be the starter if he's healthy for a lot of the season. Center injuries do happen, but he was very good. And I think that was the most encouraging one-player development from this game for the Pacers, in that, Walker was good. We've seen him have nice moments this season. Siakam was amazing. Nesmith had some good and bad moments. But Isaiah Jackson, I think, far and away, exceeded the expectations that he has set or has had set on him by the most. And for a guy that is in this such challenging situation, I just kind of alluded to this, and I wrote about this before the season. It's the weirdest spot to be, where normally, I've said this before, but if you've never heard it, I want to explain it again. Normally, a player like Isaiah Jackson, who's in, yes, year 5, but still, is young, is coming off of an Achilles tear, is never started before, right? Has very rarely played with a lot of these guys. He's played some with Nesmith in the second units in the past. Him and Siakam overlapped for 4 months. Then an offseason happened. Then he tore his Achilles. Barely ever played with Jarris. Barely ever played with Quentin Jackson, right? Even the starting lineup that you expected the Pacers to have, he didn't have a ton of reps with, right? All this to say, normally the situation Isaiah Jackson would be in is when we're like, yeah, give that guy grace. It's going to be challenging for him. It's going to take him a minute. And look, it took him a minute, and maybe he'll be closer to this going forward. But the Pacers can't afford to be like super Gracie and slow. Like, they needed to grade him on the rubric of being a starting center. And lo and behold, they were playing all their centers like 12, 15 minutes a night. And then Obi got hurt and they needed more. And Jackson gave them more in this game. So it's just a weird combination of grading him against a situation that is very challenging. But he was spectacular in this game. They need more of these kind of performances from him going forward. That was the brightest spot, I think, compared to expectations. He was straight up better than Myles Turner, right? Not even like given their assignments or given whatever situation you want to say, Isaiah Jackson was just straight up better than Myles Turner in this game, which was a fun subplot of it all. And now it's over. The return game is over. The Pacers lose another heartbreaker. They'll try again on Wednesday against what I consider the worst team in the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets. But the Pacers have a history of playing up and down to their competition. Boy, oh boy, do they need to win that game. Back tomorrow talking more Pacers. I have not even thought about topics or guests because I had a crazy weekend and wrote 3 stories on Monday. And we'll have another one out tomorrow. But we'll be talking more Pacers, their injury situation, what they may be able to tweak rotationally. Maybe we'll get into some stats a little bit about their early season and things of that nature. Thank you all so much for listening today. You can find me on social media at Tony R. Reese in this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Back tomorrow talking more about the team. Tell them everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day.